What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and this is a continuation of the first video that did get cut short because I ran out of film, plain and simple, and I ran out of space. So I have to continue this Counterpunch on the interview that Eddie Hearn and Mark Villegas were having during the discussion on the Anthony Joshua Deontay Wilder split or whatnot. So I was just wrapping up a point of fighters and what they were worth, but let me continue on with this particular video.
Harder when people sort of, like what I like about Bob Arum is, right, he's been slagging me off for like the last 2 weeks, yeah?
He wasn't too happy that they're in this fight.
Yeah, but
He's not happy about the price he paid for him either.
that's my job. Like, he'd do the same thing. Like, I out-hustled Bob Arum once. Only once. Give me some credit, you know? He's a legend. He's 87 years old, you know? And I can say to him, yeah, Bob, I did Joshua against Klitschko, 90,000 at Wembley. He says, well, when I done the Thriller in Manila, I'm like, oh. Yeah. So you have to give massive credit, massive. But he'll say stuff like, but he won't let that get in the way of doing a deal. He won't say, I can't believe we've paid Crolla this and Hearn's fucking done me on this and I'm not doing a deal with him again. He'll just say, right, he'll phone me up and go, right, Eddie, forget that. Now we're on to this subject. What do you want to do? Whereas the problem with what's been going on is I don't even want to talk about, we don't like him, what he said, so we ain't dealing with him. Well, then I just don't feel like that's really working on behalf of the fighter. But again, there's been so much said. I want to go down that road. I want to try and be positive. One thing that doesn't look is a communication between us and them.
So what he was explaining is the difference between trying to make a fight with Shelly Finkel versus Bob Arum. And he gave an example of Bob Arum that they may say things that they don't like, okay? They may say things that they don't like as far as negotiations, as far as something personal. However, because this deal went like this and this deal went like that, Bob, at the end of the day, Bob will still do business with Eddie Hearn because it's about the fighters. It's about getting the best deals with the fighters, not how it is going now with Shelly Finkel and Eddie Hearn. See, Shelly Finkel wants to bring certain things to the forefront that doesn't even involve the fighter, okay? Him calling him Shirley Winkle doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's like, if you notice with Team Wilder, if you listen to Wilder last 8 months, especially the better part of this year, he's always talked about what did happen, what they tried to do. You know what I mean? Comparing that to, or rather than, hey, what are we doing to try to get the fight made? The last thing where they did go to the meeting to see what John Skipper had to say because they didn't want to deal with Eddie Hearn. Because of something personal, like I can't stand him, I don't like him. That's what Eddie Hearn was saying, the difference between someone that knows business and personal. Never personal. But funny, isn't that what Deontay Wilder just said? It's never personal. But it is personal. Because your quote-unquote family, your team, you took offense to what Eddie Hearn said. Eddie Hearn did say something regards to, he's just an Alabama kid or a guy from Alabama that nobody knows. He said things like that. The problem is Deontay Wilder took that personally. Those are something that you're supposed to take out on his fighter in the ring, not really something that would prohibit you from making the biggest fight of your life, okay? So that's what Eddie Hearn was saying, and I had to counterpunch that. Let's continue on with this video.
There's people trying to help and trying to work on it, and we'll see what happens. But most important, get the wins on May 18. And there's a great run there. You've got May 18, Wilder, Brazil. You've got May 25th, Usyk, Takam. And then you've got June 1, Joshua Miller. It's a great 3 straight weeks of heavyweight fights. And then Fury fights later on in June. So, it's a great time for heavyweight boxing. You may not be getting the fights that you wanted ultimately this summer, but you do have 10 guys who could all beat each other or be in great fights, and you've never really had that before in the division.
I think ultimately, too, the deal is going to come down the split. And the split's been talked about so much. Is that something that is the hardest part of the negotiation? Is that?
Probably. I mean, look, I think Wilder's made it quite clear he wants 50-50.
Yeah. You guys feel that he's not entitled to 50-50. Why don't you guys do this? Like, and I know it was proposed for Mayweather-Pacquiao. Do a split where the winner gets the extra 10%.
But it doesn't. I mean, that's very. Sounds like a great idea, but it's never really been done before in boxing. No, but whether that can be done or not, I just, but ultimately, you'll get to a stage where it will come down to the fighters. Because if Wilder wants 50-50, you have to say to Joshua, will you give him 50-50? And he'll say, no, I don't believe he deserves 50-50. And if Joshua says, I'll give him 60-40, okay. Then you've got to go to Wilder and say, will you accept 60-40? If he says no, it's done. There's no deal. So, again, one thing I will give Wilder credit for is his profile, going back from when this fight was first offered, I don't know, last summer or something like that, or even like it was been talked about too, but actually proper written offers for this fight. His value now is considerably higher than it was back then, and he's done a good job. Partly, I think the Joshua sort of.
They've been pushing him, putting him on broadcast TV, and then the Fury fight too. I think both guys.
I don't knock Wilder for that. He's got a lot more value than he did this time last year.
Do you think they're waiting then for the value to go even more so they could go to 50-50?
They get that in the end. I don't know. Maybe he goes out and has a fight of the year against Brazil. Like, gets off the deck and comes back and becomes an American.
Let me ask you this. Do you personally think he should get 50-50? No, you don't. Okay. Why not? Why not just 50-50 so the fight can't happen? Either way, both guys make money.
Yeah, but that's an easy thing to say as a fan, right? And I understand what you're saying. It doesn't really come down to me. Like, the same thing you say, well, Wilder, why don't you just take 60-40? Like, if you want to say, why don't you just take 50, why don't you just take 60-40? You've got 3 belts.
Someone would say, well, he needs Wilder to make that up.
Well, guys, let me counterpunch this real quick with the splits, with the deserving of the fight purses and things of that nature. Eddie's right when it comes to Deontay Wilder, because you guys can remember, these weren't splits at all. These were actual flat rates that once upon a time, there wasn't even in question that Deontay Wilder should even get anything close to that. But it was with reason. And the reason for that is that Deontay Wilder's fight purses have been nowhere near Anthony Joshua's. So basically what Anthony Joshua was doing was giving him one of his previous fight purses, which was 12.5, which that wasn't acceptable, as we all know. And, then they wanted splits, okay? But before the splits came about from Team Joshua, there was the 12.5, then the 15. No, the 12.5, then the $50 million situation, then the 15. And the reason I said it like that, because you guys know, there was no contract explaining the $50 million or where it was coming from. It didn't even matter where it was coming from. There was nothing explaining that it existed or that he was going to get it, period. So nobody can argue that. Now, Steven Espinosa has went out lately and said, after a fucking year, it said, hey, yeah, there were emails explaining the email that was sent to Eddie Hearn from Deontay Wilder explaining the $50 million. You know what I mean? Which that's he said or she said. The funny thing about it, about Steven, is why would you send, or you, so he didn't send it. He said it was sent to Barry Hearn, and Barry Hearn knew that this contract existed. Okay, if it did or didn't, no one's admitting that it did or didn't. I'm saying that it's the first time that anybody ever heard about it. I would have to dig up the interview, but I remember the interview, and more than likely I will dig it up and use that as a source. I think I'll label it source 1 or source 2, okay? But it was Steven Espinosa that did say that the $50 million was real. The $50 million was the email that was explaining the stipulations on the contract. And but again, we don't even know if it was a contract. So I will send that link to you guys so you guys can check that out. But with this, it shows that Deontay has went a long way when it comes to profile. So Eddie is right on that. You know, regardless of the talks of Anthony Joshua, that helped do it. You know, the Tyson Fury build-up, the Tyson Fury fight, and the aftermath of the Tyson Fury all helped Deontay do this here. You know, a lot of people might not like it. It doesn't matter because it's risen. Because now we're talking splits now. Okay? So, let me continue.
That mega event, he can't get like the amount of money like with Miller or anybody else.
He's making much more money than Deontay.
This is like the marquee fight, you know?
What we're saying, Marco, is you're talking about a guy who has consistently earned like more money than Wilder has ever been close to, okay? Consistently. Like up until 2 fights ago, Wilder was making like $3 million a fight. So when you go...
Let me counterpunch that. He said that Anthony Joshua made massive amounts of money for his fights. He has, 20 million pounds, 15 million pounds, things like that. $20+ million fight purses. With Miller, he's making 35 million, which I think is like 28 million pounds or something like that. And he stated that up until then, Wilder was only getting $3 million fight purses. That's wrong. That's not true. He wasn't getting $3 million. He got $4 million his last fight on his pay-per-view as a guarantee to fight Fury. His other fight, he got 2.5, which is not $3 million. Okay, because you have to split that between the people that handle you, and he's being handled by a lot of fucking people. Okay, so that's not $3 million. He didn't make that his last fight neither with Hearn. Okay, he might have made $1 million, but other than that, that was like his highest fight purses up till that date. So no, he didn't even make $3 million. So that is what I had to counterpunch. Because Eddie didn't know. I guess he was trying to be modest or round his purse off, whatever. But that's not true.
Go to a guy, it's like you, right? So you're making $80,000 a year. I don't know that, but and then I come.
Come on, give me some more credit. Just say at least 100.
Unbelievable. This is the biggest fight ever, right? You're gonna be in this. Oh, it's a real risky fight. Everything's on the line, but wow, this, blah, blah, this job for you could be massive. This job is going to make you the biggest star in world boxing, but you're gambling everything you've ever, worked towards, blah, blah. And you go to me, well, how much am I going to get for that? And I go, 100,000 a year. And you go, well, hold on. You're just like, I'm gambling everything. This is the biggest fight in all.
I'm going to ask, well, how much are you making from it?
But what I'm saying is let's look at what they're earning.
Yeah.
That's the key here, in my opinion. Right? So when you're giving Joshua...
When I think of it as a business, I'm be like, okay, it doesn't matter how much I'm earning. It's going to matter how much we're going to make from... What's the potential income from this event here?
What I'm saying is, it's not much more than he's making already at 50-50. Do you understand? So if there's this massive fight, if there's all this risk, if there's the undisputed, surely I should be making a lot more than I'm making at the moment. Wilder is at 40%. At 50%, Joshua isn't really.
Bingo. Now, what Eddie Hearn said made a lot of sense, and I hope you guys can understand what he was saying. If you don't, let me counterpunch it my way so you guys can understand it. He simply stated that Anthony Joshua, having 4 belts, he already makes a massive amount of money. We just explained he made 35. He's making $35 million to fight Miller in his first fight in America. Okay? Now, for him to be introduced, oh, hey, you're going to fight the WBC heavyweight champion of the world, and you're already making $35 million. Well, how much is the fight worth? How much am I going to get paid? Oh, you're going to get paid $40 million. You know what I'm saying? And that's a 50-50 split. And that's according to, if Deontay Wilder had it his way, he would make probably $40 million or $50 million. Well, that's not more than what he's already making. See, people don't understand about Anthony Joshua, and Joshua won't be even the person to tell you this because he already has it. Rich people or wealthy people, I work with them, I know them. They don't walk around with flashy shit. They don't walk around saying or stating that I make this amount of money. I'm so rich. I'm such a guppy. I've got it made in the shade. They don't do that. They just have it. And because they have it, they don't have to say that they have it. Anthony Joshua is one of these people. He's not the type of person to flaunt, but he makes a lot of money. Even in those talk shows that you know, with the Breakfast Club and Sway's Universe, he didn't even want to go about money because the issue wasn't even about him making the amount of money. But the reality is, if he gives Deontay Wilder $50 million for all this risk, and he understands the risk, now that's the key, the risk versus the reward. Okay, well, yeah, for Wilder will get a gang of money that, for one, he's not worth. For two, okay, if he lost, he still gets paid a massive amounts of money. And then Anthony Joshua, the risk versus his reward really won't be that much. Or will it? You know, how much for the WBC really? Because that's all they're doing, is trying to buy the WBC to give Deontay Wilder that potential ass whooping. And I said potential ass whooping, you know, because it hasn't happened yet. We have to see him do it if he does it. But Wilder's only making a certain amount of money at a lower scale. So a percentage to him would be life-changing money. He knows it. His team knows it. And that's what they're banking on. Okay? And that's what Eddie was trying to let everyone know. 50-50, from 50 Wilder gets versus 50 that Anthony Joshua gets. He's not making much more money than he makes now for this so-called biggest fight. Okay, so really we don't know how much it's really worth. You know what I'm saying? Because if Joshua has to give him 50-50 and he's done more risk in a shorter amount of time, it's a shitty idea, or it's a shitty concept to share that with someone that hasn't done that much more. That's just like you building a fucking company from the ground up, right? Building it up, but then you want to add to your building. And your building is, beside your building is a fucking taco stand. Now that taco stand probably brings in maybe $500,000 a year, and your building makes $20 million a year. You know what I'm saying? That's comparing a watermelon to a grape. You know, 20 million to 500,000. And then that person with 500,000 says, "Hey, you know what? I want to split the profits with you because this is my property, and I don't want to sell it. I want a percentage." You would tell him bullshit. That's what's happening in this situation. See, Joshua is so much more in value than Deontay, even though he's risen his profile to the point where the money that he's making with his profile supposedly risen, it's a secret. See, nobody really knows, and that's the whole game that Al has to play. Al Heyman wants everyone to believe that Deontay Wilder is making so much more money than he used to make, and it's not the truth. The truth of the matter is they don't want to tell you about that, the fight purse, the agreement for him to stay with Showtime, is because this particular guy is not making that money. He's not making it anyway, so it's better to keep it confidential as though he's making more, but we can't share that with anyone. It makes no sense. But that's just like the nonchalant way of saying, hey, if you don't want to lie, don't say nothing at all. That's where that's coming from, okay? So that's the deal. So I hope I counterpunched that right to you guys. Let me continue, and I'm almost wrapping up.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is where he's at the moment. He's
thinking all this risk and I'm not making much more.
Yeah, I don't think he's thinking all this risk because he just wants to fight. Yeah. But there's not a lot of difference in the money to what he's making at the moment.
Let me counterpunch that. He might not be thinking all this risk, but anyone that knows boxing, it is a risk. I think Anthony Joshua is thinking of a risk. I think he knows that he can beat Deontay Wilder. He feels that he can beat him. But I do know that this is a risky fight. Deontay Wilder, regardless of what his skill set is, or you guys, whatever you think about him skill-wise, or ring IQ-wise, or whatever-wise, the motherfucker's strong. And I'm going to tell you, if Deontay Wilder hits you with that punch, it could change everything. And I know that Anthony Joshua would be a fool if he didn't realize that. That's one of the factors with dealing with someone that you're not really, that you're ions above financially and markability wise, but you have to factor in that true honest concept. You know, Deontay Wilder could land that big right, and it could be good night. So I had to counterpunch Eddie Hearn. He's saying, well, I don't think he's scared, because I know he's backing his fighter up. And I'm not saying that Anthony Joshua's scared, but I am saying his ass is concerned and he's aware of what the possibilities of getting hit with a blow like that. Again, this is heavyweight boxing, people. Okay? It only takes one punch. So let's move on.
To what he could make in that fight.
Yeah.
To fight Miller, okay, he'll make more to fight Wilder, but not the difference in levels that Wilder is making.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Wilder will make over double, well, more, treble, maybe quadruple what he's ever earned before. So
this is a lot of the same stuff I remember hearing from the Mayweather-Pacquiao negotiations, and I think they finally settled on 60-40 with Manny getting, I think, over 100 million, Floyd getting over 200 million, and ultimately, like, it kind of wore down, I think, on Manny, and Manny was like, I'll just take the 40, like, I just want the fight.
But that may end up happening with either side.
Yeah.
Maybe Wilder turns around and says, do you know what, give me the 40%, I'm going to knock him out. And maybe Joshua turns around and goes, do you know what, fuck it, just do the 50-50, let me knock him out.
Yeah.
That's what it will probably take, you know. But all my argument then is what I'm getting at is Wilder will make quadruple times more than he's ever made for this fight. Joshua won't, right?
Yeah.
So that's really where the difference should be. But again, we go over it again. It's quite boring. And, like, ultimately, we just got to try to keep going.
At some point, you just got to get frustrated and be like, you know what, let's just...
Or a broadcaster will come along and go, do you know what? Bosh.
Yeah.
And everyone goes, fucking right. We can't not do it.
Yeah.
That's what it'll get to a stage with. That's how it got with Pacquiao. I mean, Pacquiao.
Now, to wrap this up, what he said may come to that point if both fighters continue winning. Maybe one side says, hey, 50-50 or fuck it 60-40, Wilder says, or 50-50, Anthony Joshua says, you know what, fuck it, give him 50-50 so I can beat this guy, because I know I can beat this guy. Or, like Eddie Hearn stated, that it might be a big broadcaster, and that broadcaster might be someone that just brings this huge amount of money to the table, and then they split that up or whatever, and then they have that fight. But you know what? You know something? That's already happened. John Skipper came from cloud 2086. He came floating on high and dropped down an opportunity for Deontay Wilder, and they didn't take it. Now, that's the truth. So what Eddie was talking about was John Skipper. I don't see anyone else just saying, hey, I want to make that fight. Here's this amount of money to have these two guys duke it out. You know what I mean? For one fight, one face, one champion in one name. So that may happen, that may not happen. But ultimately, like he said, Anthony Joshua would have to agree to 50-50. Now, mind you, if that time comes, 2 or 3 things will happen. 1, like I stated, I've already made a video about this. Wilder will win a moral victory. Here's 2, though. 2, we will know without a shadow of a doubt who really wanted that fight more, and that would be Joshua, if Joshua decides to accept that 50-50. Now, for the Wilder fans could say, hey, Deontay Wilder accepted 60-40. Well, that's contingent on if he signed the fucking contract and he actually fought him for 60-40. Because remember, he wants to have everyone to believe that he signed $15 million dollar contract to fight Anthony Joshua. He never signed shit. Counterpunch, he never signed it. He said he agreed to $15 million. That's not the same as actually doing what you say that you're going to do. Okay? Because he didn't sign shit. He didn't. Okay? So, and third, if Deontay Wilder, from this point, if Anthony Joshua offers him $50 million, or no, not 50 million, I'm sorry, that's double that he's been offered. Sorry, 50-50 split. Then at that point, if we have any resistance from Finkel, from Wilder, from DeBella, from Heyman, from anyone, they're ducking, they don't want the fight, good night. And if that happens, I won't do another video about it because it's no need to do that. Counterpunch that shit and move on. We got other things in the sport of boxing to be talked about or to be talking about than to harness on one guy that secretly doesn't really want to fight another guy. See, that's one thing is trying to wake a person up that's hard to fall asleep versus another thing trying to wake a person up that's pretending to be asleep. Okay? He will never wake up. And in that matter, if the fight can happen, it will happen. Okay? But I don't think that particular fight can actually be made if one of these guys give in. They have to give in. You know? So, but if that happens, we will see if Wilder really wants it. We'll see if he really wants it because he's got what he said he wanted. Okay? And if he doesn't take it for whatever reason, we know he just didn't want the fight. Bottom line. And thank you guys. I know the video was lengthy. I just had to counterpunch this the right way. The way I know how. You guys tell me what you think. Please subscribe. And you guys been counterpunched. Peace.